Quran at the beginning, and there's always Quran at the end, just to remind us the barakah. So, what is your most cherished piece in barakah and why? Well, I'd rather discuss that once you hear it yourselves. Let's have another chat about that. Did you know? Astaghfirullah. I won't even read this question. It's a little bit. It's too kind. It's a little bit too kind, and I'm pretty sure. I'm almost certain not true. Advice for your fans: hold on to your tradition. Now, I don't like to preach here, but don't stray from the tradition of your parents. The Islam taught to you by your parents is the true Islam for you, for us. Don't stray from it too much. Because of course there are some aspects of culture that are problematic, of course. But by and large, in general, especially people living in the West, but by and large, in general, culture and tradition is what makes us who we are, and we breathe religion through culture. I mean, the Quran is the word of God for Muslims, and the Sharia is the sacred law of God. But to actualize, to interiorize what the Quran says, to understand it, otherwise it's just abstract thoughts in your head. When I say Allah, in your mind you're thinking Allah, but what does that mean? And you've just made an image in your head, which is, traditionally one would call that, not you, but if one does that, you try to think of something, that's shirk, right? So, traditionally, we breathe metaphysics, we breathe and feel and actualize those things, the sayings of the Prophet, the teachings of the Quran, through our culture, whether it be Azeri culture, whether it be Algerian, Moroccan, or Indian. And each one of these countries, beautiful countries, has created its own culture. And there are 7 major Islamic cultures. And what you have, the problem, stay away from the modern people, stay away from the young guys who say all of those things are wrong, only what I say is right. Everything from the past is wrong, this is the truth. They are the ones you stay away from. Next question. Is the traditional Islamic music found only in traditional Sufi poems, or are there other sources? Well, traditional Islamic music is not only Sufi music, I would argue, it's also the folk music. It's also the traditional music that may not be overtly religious in text. Like the Mawashihat, they're around nature, and many of them are nature, and they might appear to the Western, particularly for a Western mindset, as secular, but the word doesn't exist in Arabic, it doesn't exist in Persian, and it doesn't exist in traditional Turkish. These are modern words. Almaniya is a modern word. So it's all the music, and there are different degrees, of its, if I can say, sanctity, or how, because these, like Inna fil Jannati, these traditional pieces, I believe they are sacred pieces from within the Turath, Islamic Turath of tradition, because they were made at a sacred time by holier people, let's say, and by the way, then one should not take them literally. Some people were saying, love of Ali, Sayyidina Ali and Hussein Hassan doesn't just take you to Jannah. Well, obviously it doesn't. This is something, most probably in the 17th century nobody would even question. But unfortunately in the modern times, because we're disconnected, we're cut off from tradition, we question that immediately. Wallahi, that didn't even come to my mind, which is a good thing. That thought. Of course, it's through belief in God and being good, pious Muslim, and also, of course, by His mercy. The condition is not of loving a historical figure or his family. That's not, that's the only thing. Of course not, obviously. These are exaggerated, pious statements that are not to be taken literally. In music and poetry, there's always usage of, you always find usage of metaphor, of symbolism, so don't take it literally. But loving Ahl al-Bayt is, that's one of the things I believe can really bring unity, to the Muslim community, which is something I truly pray from the bottom of my heart will happen, because there's no question on loving the Prophet's family. It's not a Shia thing, it's not a Sunni thing, it's a Muslim thing. It's a traditional thing. It's how it's always been. And it's very sad to see, politics, unfortunately, affecting so many people's minds and mindsets, and people getting dragged into it. 117 new questions. How do you feel sing Qawwali in Maraga? I love Qawwali music, and Qawwali is on this album, absolutely, because it's major, one of the major traditions, cultures of Islam is the subcontinent, Indo-subcontinent, includes Pakistan, Bangladesh, of course, as well. And Qawwali is amazing. So we have something from the Sabri brothers, Divani, that was it was composed in for the love of Mu'inuddin Chishti, the great Chishti saint, founder of the Chishtiya order in India, an extremely important personality, extremely important for Indian Islam in India. And we changed the words, with humility. We hope that we're forgiven for deviating somehow. But it's difficult for me to sing Urdu and Punjabi, so we changed the words somewhat to Arabic, to classical Arabic, and the words are for the love of the Prophet, his family, and his companions. It's called Ya Nabi. But it's the same arrangement, the same instruments, same sound. Of course, there's a long intro at the beginning of Divani in the Darbari Khana Darag. It's extremely beautiful, but we've shortened them. And remember, these are introductions to the beautiful pieces of the Muslim world. They are not, by no means, I make no claims. It'd be very audacious and very bold of me to claim that this is an Islamic album. It's the only Islamic album out there. It's just, here it is. It's my humble effort. What instruments were played in the songs of Barakah? Who played them? Well, we have Sayyid Ali Jabari, we have Sayyid Muhammad Jabari, of course. We have incredible musicians from Turkey, but it's not a very musical album as such. The focus in keeping it in line with tradition is mostly on the words and the spirit, the barakah, and obviously the human voice. So you won't find, it's not a very egotistic album, if I can use that word in inverted commas. It's mostly about the universal, not the individual. It's more about God and less about elaborate musical statements to make. It's really, it's traditional music. Mashallah, a lot of questions. Brother, I'm working on thesis music for humanity with 3 of your songs. It's very kind of you. Thank you very much. Can you please tell me something about it? Well, I first need to know what songs you're referring to, but thank you very much. I'm humbled that you'd use my pieces. What accordance to you does modern music lack? Well, modern music lacks tradition. Modern music revolves around 3 or 4 chords from a very kind of mundane, basic level. Speaking, because not everyone is musical here. Not everyone would understand the terms, but on a very basic level, it revolves around 3 or 4 chords, making catchy melodies, a catchy tune, catchy chorus, and getting your attention. Much of it is fraud. Much of it is really, it's just to get into your pockets and take your money. Whereas in the past, in the tradition, music was always there to elevate the soul, remind one of God, and musicians would not charge money to perform. It's a foreign, modern thing. It was not something usual to charge money. It was not a norm. They had different jobs, and this was something that they would, in ceremonies or get-togethers with families, with loved ones, with the community, would perform music, sacred music, or at different levels, folk music, classical music of those people, of that particular culture. So much of modern music is revolved around, unfortunately, crooks. Some of them are repeated, so I'm trying not to repeat myself, repeat the answers. Thank you very much for all these beautiful comments. Very kind of you, really. I feel very blessed, very humbled by all this love, warmth. I really like the Ibn Arabi ensemble. Tasneem is asking which traditional groups you enjoy listening to. I love the Ibn Arabi ensemble. I love traditional music of all kinds. It's not just Islamic, but there's another great band out there, newly formed, the Firdaus Ensemble, which is headed by a gentleman called Ali Keela, which is brilliant. It's a brilliant fusion of kind of traditional Celtic music, and I wouldn't call it a fusion, I don't like that word, but they come from that same, if I can say, barakah, same grace, that traditional music. Yeah. Although the grace may not be the Muhammadian grace, it's not the barakah Muhammadiyah, but traditional Celtic music is very beautiful. And I don't think anybody would dispute that there's something very spiritual about it. So he brings them together and mixes it. Because of his roots, he's English. So he mixes the English and kind of Celtic sounds, traditional sounds, and it's beautiful. I advise anybody to listen. Do you have a Pashto Dari song in your album? Unfortunately, I do not. But Dari, yes. To be honest, Persian and Dari they're kind of the same. The accent's different, but they're the same. So I think a colonial thing to divide and conquer creates the new word. Persian and Dari, Farsi, Dari, Persian, they're really the same thing for me. Why did you choose the album to be named Barakah from Maryam? Well, because traditional Islam has in it the Barakah Muhammadiyah. So therefore, the music of Islam, and Islam does have music. Those who are, one or two of you keep saying music is haram. I don't know what you're doing here. You're more than welcome, but ahlan wa sahlan. But if you're here, then why would you say music is haram? But you're welcome. You're welcome to be here, to join us. Those who have that viewpoint, you're more than entitled to have that viewpoint. But I'd advise you, if possible, to have a read through my humble essay on this, on the 500 most influential Muslim website, Muslim 500. That's what it's called, Muslim 500. I wrote an essay. It was, what is Islamic music? What is Islamic music? So I recommend reading that. Do you ever think of learning Azerbaijani language? I understand it, but I need to practice. Yes, inshallah, definitely. What are the main musical instruments used in the album? I think we answered that. But percussions, Will you visit Mazar Sharif? Inshallah, I'd love to.